The man wearing a black sleeveless tactical vest was dragging my service dog, Max, toward a white cargo van, while my hands trembled so violently I could barely move. Two other men in matching vests stood planted in my doorway, blocking my exit, claiming my psychiatric service dog violated HOA pet restrictions and was being seized immediately. My name is Lucas. I am a 34-year-old Army veteran living with severe PTSD after 2 deployments to Afghanistan. Max is not a pet. He is a fully trained service dog who alerts me to incoming panic attacks, helps me navigate crowded environments, and keeps me functional enough to work as an IT consultant. Without Max, most days I cannot even leave my house. What these men were doing wasn't just cruel, it was potentially life-threatening. I live in a quiet neighborhood outside Oklahoma City that I chose very carefully because it had no HOA restrictions. I verified that fact before I ever signed the lease. But the man gripping Max's leash, whose name tag read Animal Control Director, Warren, insisted my property had recently fallen under HOA jurisdiction and that all animals now required approval through an architectural review committee. That dog is illegal under our bylaws, Warren said, yanking Max toward a van as Max resisted, twisting and pulling desperately to get back to me. No animals over 30 pounds. No animals without prior written approval. You failed to submit required documentation. The animal is being impounded until you pay fines and complete the approval process. My chest began to tighten. A panic attack was coming fast. Even from 15 feet away, Max sensed it. He strained hard against the leash, trying to reach me. That was his training. Detect my symptoms early and provide pressure therapy to ground me before the attack became debilitating. He's a service dog, I managed to say as my breathing turned shallow and uneven. Protected under federal law. Ada, you can't take him. The second man, whose name tag read Officer Pearson, raised a clipboard. Service animals require HOA certification and insurance documentation. You provided neither. The animal is being removed for community safety until you comply with all regulations. The third man, Officer Dixon, recorded everything on his phone. Property owner is becoming agitated and potentially violent, he said calmly. Animal removal is necessary for everyone's safety. I wasn't agitated. I was having a medical emergency because they were taking my medical equipment. Max wasn't a pet. He was medical support, just as essential as an oxygen tank or a wheelchair. Taking him was like taking insulin from a diabetic. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and called the only person I knew could help. Brigadier General James Mitchell, retired, my former commanding officer from my second deployment. He gave me his personal number after I was medically retired and told me to call if I ever needed anything. I had never used it before now. Lucas? General Mitchell answered immediately. What's wrong? Sir, I gasped. 3 men claiming to be HOA enforcement are taking Max. They're dragging him to a van right now. They say he's not allowed. I can't breathe. I need Max. Please. Mitchell's voice shifted instantly into command mode. Where are you? Give me your address. I gave it to him while watching Warren force Max into the van. Max barked in distress, clawing, trying to get back to me. My panic attack spiraled. Vision narrowing, heart pounding. Every symptom Max normally stopped before it reached this point. Lucas, listen to me, Mitchell said sharply. I'm making calls right now. Those men are committing federal crimes. Interfering with a service dog is a federal offense. They're violating ADA regulations with serious penalties. Do not sign anything. Do not pay anything. Record everything you can. I'll have resources there within 30 minutes. Warren slammed the van door shut with Max inside. I could hear Max barking frantically. The sound shattered what little control I had left. We'll return the animal once you pay the $2,200 impound fee and submit all required HOA documentation, Warren said, shoving a paper toward me. You have 72 hours, or the animal will be considered abandoned and rehomed. You can't rehome a service dog, I said weakly. Federal law. Disability discrimination. Pearson stepped closer. We don't recognize service animal claims without proper HOA certification. Pay the fees or lose the dog. Your choice. They climbed into the van, and drove away with Max. I collapsed onto my front steps as a full panic attack hit, like a freight train. No Max to ground me. No pressure therapy. Just raw, overwhelming terror. The very reason I needed Max in the first place. I don't remember the next 20 minutes clearly. Panic attacks do that. Time bends and fractures. But I remember General Mitchell staying on the phone, calmly walking me through breathing exercises he taught me during my darkest days in uniform. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. You survived worse. Lucas, breathe with me. By the time a convoy of vehicles arrived, I was steady enough to stand. General Mitchell stepped out of a black SUV, followed by 2 people in suits. A military police vehicle rolled in behind them. This was not a casual response. Mitchell came straight to me. Lucas, sit down. Breathe. We're getting Max back. Right now, these are federal investigators from the Department of Justice Disability Rights Section. They're handling this. The 2 investigators introduced themselves as Agent Torres and Agent Kim. They began asking questions immediately. I told them everything. The fake HOA claims, the forced seizure Max, the threats to rehome him. Torres recorded my statement while Kim was already on her phone coordinating something. General Mitchell contacted us directly about a service dog interference case with possible organized fraud elements. Torres said, "We've been tracking fake HOA operations that specifically target veterans and disabled individuals. Your case fits a pattern we've been actively investigating." General Mitchell was already on his phone, coordinating with people I couldn't hear. "I want that van tracked. I want those 3 men identified. And I want that service dog recovered immediately. This is a federal disability rights violation, and I'm not waiting on warrants." Within 15 minutes, Mitchell mobilized resources I didn't even know existed. Military police tracked the van through traffic camera systems. The DOJ obtained emergency authority to intercept, and Mitchell personally contacted the Oklahoma City VA director and the regional ADA coordinator to apply pressure across every relevant agency. The van was stopped by military police and local sheriff's deputies 23 miles from my house. Max was recovered unharmed and returned to me less than an hour after being taken. The moment I saw him, my symptoms began easing. He immediately went into his trained response. Deep pressure therapy, staying close, steady and calm, until my breathing normalized. The 3 men were detained by federal agents. A search of their van uncovered fake HOA documents tied to 11 different properties, detailed files on disabled veterans in the Oklahoma City area, and evidence showing they were deliberately targeting veterans with service dogs. This wasn't random. It was a calculated scheme designed to exploit disabled people. Agent Torres interviewed me extensively while Max stayed pressed against my leg, doing his job. "Lucas," he said, "these men have been running a targeted operation against disabled veterans. They research who has service animals, file fake HOA claims, and demand payment to return the animals. Most victims pay immediately because they can't function without their service dogs. You're the first one who had direct access to someone with General Mitchell's level of resources and connections." Mitchell stayed with me as the investigation unfolded. "Lucas, I've made some calls," he said. "The Department of Justice is taking this personally. The Department of Veterans Affairs is involved because veterans are being targeted, and I've contacted JAG to explore military legal options since these men are exploiting former service members." The investigation uncovered a deeply disturbing pattern. Warren, Pearson, and Dixon, whose real names were Michael Warren, Thomas Pearson, and Kyle Dixon, have been operating across Oklahoma and Texas for 18 months. They targeted disabled veterans, identified those with service animals, used fake HOA authority to seize the animals, and extorted money for their return. They had successfully collected more than $300,000 from veterans who paid immediately just to get their service dogs back. General Mitchell was furious when he learned the scope. "They are preying on people who serve this country," he said. "People living with disabilities because of that service. This goes beyond criminal. This is morally reprehensible." The federal case moved fast. The Department of Justice Disability Rights Section led the prosecution, charging all 3 men with federal disability discrimination, service animal interference, fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. The VA Office of Inspector General added charges, related specifically to targeting veterans. Then General Mitchell did something I never expected. He organized a network of retired military officers across Oklahoma and Texas to identify and support every veteran these men had victimized. Within 2 months, Mitchell's network located 23 veterans who had paid to recover their service dogs. Every one of them was connected with DOJ investigators and included in the federal case. 8 months later, the case went to federal court. I testified about Max being taken and how it triggered a severe medical crisis. Other veterans testified to similar experiences, some describing being unable to function for days or weeks while trying to get their service dogs back. The testimony was emotional, raw, and devastating. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence of systematic targeting. Computer files showing how the defendants researched VA databases and veteran service organizations, financial records documenting hundreds of thousands in extortion payments, and expert testimony explaining the critical role service animals play in PTSD and other disabilities. All 3 defendants were convicted on every federal charge. Michael Warren was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Thomas Pearson received 16 years. Kyle Dixon was sentenced to 15 years. The judge specifically cited the exploitation of disabled veterans as justification for the harshest possible sentences. You targeted the most vulnerable members of our veteran community. The judge said, you weaponized their disabilities. You separated them from medical support they depend on to survive. Your actions were calculated, cruel, and deserving of maximum punishment. Every veteran received full restitution, along with additional compensation for emotional distress and medical complications caused by being separated from their service animals. I received $22,000, far more than the fake fees they demanded, reflecting the trauma and medical crisis their actions caused. General Mitchell visited me after sentencing. Max lay at my feet, calm and focused as always. "Lucas," Mitchell said, "I want you to understand something. When you called me that day, I made it my personal mission to destroy these men and their operation. Nobody targets my soldiers, active duty or retired. You serve your country. You earn the right to live peacefully with the support you need. Anyone who interferes with that answers to me." "Sir, I can't thank you enough," I said. "Without you, I don't know what would have happened." I was completely overwhelmed. Mitchell nodded. "That's exactly why they targeted veterans. They assumed you were isolated and unable to fight back. They didn't count on you having a general who still considers you under his command and who can mobilize federal agencies within an hour. I still live in Oklahoma City with Max. General Mitchell checks in monthly and connected me with Veteran Support Network he organized specifically to combat fraud targeting disabled veterans. That network has already stopped 3 similar schemes before anyone was harmed. If you are a disabled person with a service animal and someone tries to remove your animal claiming HOA authority or any other excuse, that is federal disability discrimination and service animal interference. Contact the Department of Justice Disability Rights Section immediately. If you're a veteran, contact your local VA office. And if you have military connections, like a former commanding officer, use them. Service animals are medical equipment protected by federal law. No one has the authority to remove them, no matter what fake paperwork they show. Fight back with every resource you have. Your disability rights are protected by federal law. And there are people and agencies ready to defend those rights aggressively. If you've experienced service animal interference or know veterans facing similar fraud, share your story in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about fighting back against criminals who prey on disabled veterans and making sure they face the full consequences of federal law.